Hello my friends, I hope you're having a lovely day, and in today's video I am giving you hands-on impressions and gameplay from the final version of Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I have been playing it and I have been greatly enjoying it. There's a lot of things I can't talk about, there's a lot of things I can't show, I have limitations on gameplay footage, so within all that I'll do my best to share some early impressions with you, and then the review will come at a later date. But yeah, I've been playing it quite a bit, and I have to say, I'm really enjoying it. I was excited for it from a story perspective, and I'm not going to spoil story anything here. But I was when the game was revealed, I was excited from a story perspective. But to be completely honest, the gameplay is a ton of fun. I am enjoying the gameplay aspect so much more. And that's what I'm gonna, or not so much, or so much more than I thought. And I'm gonna get into the details on why that is. Obviously, this isn't the first time that Nintendo and Koei Tecmo have teamed up for a Warriors game, but I'll give a quick breakdown of what they're like. Basically, it's Dynasty Warriors plus The Legend of Zelda. And if you don't know what Dynasty Warriors is, it's a franchise where you fight hundreds of thousands of enemies and you, like, utterly decimate them. And then you take on bosses and sub-bosses and whatever. And you do that in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. And I liked the first Hyrule Warriors game a lot, but I'm really, really enjoying Age of Calamity a lot more. And that might have to do with it being related to Breath of the Wild, because I just love that game so much, and anything that gives me more time in that universe and more time with those characters and more information on story, I was automatically interested in any of that, or everything about that. And then on top of that, I just am having a blast with the gameplay, which is so surprising to me, because the original Dynasty Warriors games, when I played them, I just got bored very quickly. So I don't know if it's the fact that this uses the Zelda franchise that keeps me more interested, or just the objectives or level design here are more interesting overall, but I'm having a blast. And even just the core gameplay of running into groups of bad guys and blowing them away, it's so much fun. And that's married with a whole bunch of Zelda stuff. Obviously you're playing with Zelda characters, but a whole bunch of moves that are familiar from Breath of the Wild as well. And it's fun, frenetic action, and the mission structure and the mission locations just really feel good. Honest to God, I found it very hard to stop playing. I was like, oh, let me play a little bit more. I'll do one more mission. I'll do one more side thing, just cause it's just fun. It's one of those games. It's kind of like Gauntlet. Gauntlet is the same kind of thing, where you just have a ton of enemies to work through, and you make your way through a dungeon, and you fight a boss. And you're pretty much doing the same thing the whole time, but there's just something about Gauntlet that is fun, and I'm getting that same feeling here from Age of Calamity. I'm honestly having a blast. Again, using the Legend of Zelda franchise really helps my engagement as well, and you get to play as multiple characters from Breath of the Wild, and they all play very differently. Sure, they're throwing out a ton of different attacks to take out enemies, but everybody has their own kind of style of fighting. Link, you know, is very traditional with a sword, and then he has the runes that you can use, but everybody has I don't know if everybody does, because I haven't finished the game yet, but most characters have the ability to use the runes as well, and they handle them a little bit differently. So, you know, not everybody is going to do what Link does. Like, not everybody's just going to take out a bomb and throw a whole bunch of them at people. They'll handle it differently. And it's important to try out the different characters, because they will be good or bad in certain settings. Sure, you'll have favorite characters, and you'll have characters that you don't like. Like, particularly, I don't really care for Zelda's style of attacks. She uses the Sheikah tablet to do everything, and I just don't really like it at this point. But you expand abilities as the game goes on, so I might appreciate it more later on. But I'm more of a physical attack kind of guy, so I actually really like Link, which isn't surprising. But I love Urbosa. She is so damn cool. Link makes you feel cool when you're playing as him, but Urbosa, I was like, she is a badass. You just feel amazing, and all characters have these special moves that they do. And she has a great one where you just attack a ton of enemies, and you hit them with lightning, because that's her thing. And then she'll, like, stop the attacks and snap her fingers and, like, blow up everybody, and you're just like, oh, that's so damn cool. So, checking out the different characters is important for finding maybe new ways to handle missions, but also finding the characters that resonate with you and make the game more fun, and there's certainly plenty to choose from. Now, there's two very important things I have to talk about here. I did not play the demo for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity because I don't tend to play demos for Nintendo's titles because I know I want them, and I know I'm going to play them anyway, so I like to keep it a secret. I want to learn everything as I actually play. But I also did hear and see about all the frame rate issues that people experienced in parts of the demo. So when I was starting out this game, I was like, well, let's see how rough it is when it comes to frame rate. Now, I have not finished the game. I have a lot to do. There's other side missions and things and more main missions for me to take on. But I wish I could show you all the hours of footage I have. But honest to God, everything I have so far, there's been maybe one moment in one mission where things slowed down for a couple seconds. And it was when I was playing as Zelda, who has some particularly flashy moves with the tablet, lots of explosions and things like that. But it was like maybe less than 3 seconds where the game slowed down. Other than that, I have not had any slowdown issues at all. There might be missions later on where the game runs at an ungodly frame rate, and I promise I will tell you that. But I'm giving you my honest opinion right now of what I've seen and played. I have not experienced frame rate issues. Again, I need to stress, I have not seen everything. I have not done everything. My review will have a much bigger picture on how frame rate works, but I need to address frame rate because it's such a big discussion around this game. And so far, so good. I don't know if it's how I handle missions. I don't, because I tend to finish up groups of enemies and then move on to the next rather than run out into the battlefield and like get everybody rounded up and fight them all at once. So I don't know if that's helping me. I don't know if it's my character decisions at certain portions. I honestly don't know. But so far, I was very worried going in about frame rate, but I have not had issues yet. I'm guessing they will crop up as you get later in the game because, you know, things get more sophisticated, and I'm sure there's going to be more enemies and more kinds of crazy attacks and the bigger geometry for the levels and all that. So we'll see. But that's my impression so far. I also got to say that I really appreciate the little aspects that you get to enjoy outside of the main missions. So you get to level up your character, obviously just through playing the game, but also on the map you get different things to do, where it's basically like, hey, you can open up this spot if you have 5 of this, 100 of this, or 20 of this, because you collect a whole bunch of stuff while you're playing through the game just by defeating enemies and finding treasure chests and all that. So you use these things to open up new things on the map, and it could be like a shop for you to get other items at, or like some other location that will give you access to items that you use to open up another thing. And it's really just an icon on the map, and it shows you what you need, and if you have it, you click the button, and then that section opens up, and that opens up other things. So you're not, in some of these cases, you're not going into a level to play something, you're just literally clicking an icon on the map. It'll level you up, maybe. It'll give you a new move, maybe, or something like that. So it's little things to do here and there to make your character grow, and while it's not, you know, anything in the way of gameplay, you're literally just clicking an icon. It is nice to see the progression of your character. But then there are other little side quests that you go on where it's like, take out these 300 guys in 5 minutes, or take out 500 guys here and take out the 2 sub-bosses or whatever. And that kind of stuff is fun because you get things to level up. You get just to not worry about, you know, main missions and escorting people and fighting bosses and worrying about what's going on in the battlefield. It's just like little portions of maps, and you run in there and have some fun. So it's good for blowing off some steam. And then you have the aspect of leveling up your weapons as well. So you pick like a main weapon that you want to fight with, and then you can break down your other weapons to use them to power up the main weapon that you're going with. So it's fun collecting all the different little weapons and then seeing like, oh, I want to go with this one, and I'll break these 5 down and level these up, and then I'll sell the rest of them. So there's a lot of little things to do, and it's kind of, I don't mean this in a bad way. It's kind of like the feeling you get from a mobile game when you're playing like a puzzle game on mobile, maybe, where you beat a level and you see a whole bunch of explosions at gems and you get a few more points and you move on to the next. You get that sense of like satisfaction where you're like, yeah, that feels good, like I completed this, I did something. And then it also makes you want to scratch that itch a little more. You're like, oh, I want to do a little bit more so I can level up here, I want to check out this side quest. So they did a really good job of making you like giving you the feeling of a reward when you're doing these these little things on a map. And then once you've built up your character and, you know, you level up and maybe made some meals to give you a different buff on the battlefield, then you go on and tackle the main mission. Hopefully those are some decent impressions from my time with Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I'm very excited to see what else the game has to offer. I cannot stress enough how much more I am enjoying this game than I expected to. I was excited for it a considerable amount, but I was excited from a story perspective, and that excitement is still there. But gameplay, man, I don't know. It's really surprising me because I like it so much more than I was expecting, which is great to experience with any game. But that's my impressions, and I'll be back with a review when the embargo for that is lifted, so look forward to that, because I'll have a lot more to say. And I'll talk about this more on this coming weekend's podcast as well. I'll go into more detail and just not as more freeform than this, which is already freeform. But if you want to learn more and you got some questions, check out the podcast coming this weekend. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching, liking, subscribing, and commenting. It's very much appreciated. Also, a huge thank you to those of you who support me on Patreon. It helps me do videos like this. Helps out with the site, the podcast, social media, all that good stuff. If you want to learn more about the Patreon, which is just $1, you can check out a link in the description below. But as for today, that is it. I will be back tomorrow with something. So until then, have a lovely day and a lovely evening, and I'll see you in a few short hours.